casting pool. If you haven't gotten your free lure, make sure you get that. I think we got everybody when they came in. But I'm going to welcome to the stage our Keystone Light Pro. He's made over $700,000 in his career with FLW. I believe he's fished about 12 years on the tour, so he's been in the game quite a while. And also, he had a tournament win recently on Kentucky Lake, was it? Yep, Kentucky Lake. And so this guy knows his stuff, so he's going to come up and share some of that with you. So please welcome to the stage Keystone Light Pro, Chad Grigsby.
Thanks, guys. It's good you guys could come out. You guys having fun? How many of you guys tournament fish? Does anybody tournament fish? A few guys? You know, I first started, and you guys just fish clubs, or what do you guys, just local stuff? Or ever starts, BFL, stuff like that? Yeah, open, yeah. All right. Well, I'm not going to come up here and say, you know, you got to throw a loose rod and reel or try to sell you, or doing techniques. I'm just going to talk a little bit about, the way I started and going up. If you guys, it's such an awesome sport, the sport we're in. I mean, there's so many opportunities, and it's not an easy sport to get in because there's a lot of competition, but if you really love it and you really want to get into bass fishing or get into do what I do and all these other pros do, it's available for everybody, and it's a different sport like NASCAR. If everyone loves to watch NASCAR, but when they're done, you can't go out there and drive your car around the track. Or our track is your guys' lake, the Red River, So you guys can take the boat, you can follow us, you can see our techniques and stuff like that and go out and fish and experience that. But when I started fishing, and I probably started when I'm 40 now, I started when I was 17. I think I got a bass boat before I got a truck to pull it with. Like, I was so excited about fishing. I got this new boat, and I had to bum all my buddies' trucks. Well, it's pretty easy because I had the boat, so they had a truck, so I could get them to go take me fishing and stuff. And what I've learned, throughout the years, you can, build your way up and just fish these local stuff and keep building. And as long as you do good and you keep your head right, you can keep going and going. And the reason I started doing it full time is because I got fired from my job for fishing too much. So it was either I'm going to go fishing or I'm going to go find another job. And I thought that job sucked. So I'm gonna try this fishing thing for a while. And he helped me out, and I got some sponsors early on, and I did well early on. But the thing about fishing is you can have guys tell you this is what you need to do in the spring, and, when it's 55 degrees, they're going to start spawning and this and that. But then someone will come in and say, well, I caught one on a topwater today. Well, you're not supposed to do that. But there's really no rules. And that's what's so cool about our sport. There's no rules to fishing. And some guy will come out with some crazy new lure. Or what, look at the Alabama rig, last couple of years. I didn't think in a million years you'd catch one. All these wires and stuff. You got to use light line, and they're going to see. That's been the hottest bait for the last 2 years, and that's what's cool about our sport is there's no rules, and that really you can, if you feel like throwing an Alabama rig, you can throw it. If you feel like throwing a little 6-pound test little worm, you can catch them on that. But the biggest thing in the competition that I have, all these guys can catch them. Everybody, they know how to catch them. It's the hardest thing is finding them and making good decisions. And you guys that fish club tournaments and stuff like that, you have 8 hours, and you say you go out and practice for a day or two, and you figure them out. You start the day, the first 2 hours you don't have a bite. What do? Does anybody know? You start freaking out and scramble around. It's like, well, man, I caught them here yesterday. Well, they have tails. They swim, right? So you got to be able to, a big thing is instincts, and another big thing is making good decisions. And so I haven't caught any for 2 hours. All right, well, let's go pre-fishing again, or let's go, I have another little area over here where I only caught one, but it looked right, or it felt right, And I had a tournament at Table Rock, and they were starting to come up. It was early spring. It was about 2 years ago, and were starting to come up to spawn. Well, I was catching them cranking a little square bill, and the first day I think I had 14 or 15 pounds. Well, then I hear all these, I see them all coming to the bank. So the next day, I go to the bank and I spend the first 5 hours of the tournament looking for beds, and I see them, and you throw up there and they take off, and you see another big one, throw up there, they take off. I've got 2 hours to fish. I make a decision right there. I've got 3 in the box. my decision was I'm going to run up the river. I've got some bushes up there. I had like 2 or 3 bites in bushes. So I run. My decision was this isn't working. It's going to take me a half hour to get up there, a half hour to get back, and that'll give me an hour to fish. That's all I got. I went up there like my 3rd bush. I caught a 6-pounder, and then I caught a 4-pounder. And it moved me from I would have finished 100 and something to 24th. But it's just little decisions making. And so it doesn't always work, but you got to be able to have the confidence in what you do. And it's the same thing, not just in fishing, but in anything, having confidence in what you do. And so if I ran all the way up there, made that decision, and I didn't catch them, at least the whole drive home, I wouldn't have thought, man, if I would have just went up there and tried it. And you never want to have second guesses or, second thoughts about anything, not just fishing, but anything. If I just felt it, and that's part of instincts of fishing. And you guys know what I'm talking about. It's, if you're driving by, that shoreline looks really good. Let's keep on driving to your spot where you caught them yesterday. Next time you're driving by, just turn the boat over. There's a reason why it looks good, or if you have that feeling, or that you should go over there and throw something at that, because that's your instincts telling you, go over there and fish. But a lot of guys will just, no, I got to go up here where I caught them. I got to, that's where they have confidence. But it's just keeping an open mind and being able to make adjustments throughout the day. That's what separates the guys that do really well. And like Nixon today, I had a report on him in this tournament that where he'd been catching him, it got muddy. He's got muddy water, and he fished in there for 2 or 3 hours, not a bite. Well, they said he left. He can't just sit there all day. So you got to make good decisions in our sport, and that was one of his. And the next report I had, he caught 3 already. So, and he's been at it 118 years now, 120 years. So he's been around the block. But it's even me starting, when I first started, it was, and I was bullheaded a lot of times. This is how I'm going to catch them, and then when you're done at the tournament, you stink. It's like, man, maybe I should have, tried to go over here. And now it's some of the best tournaments I've ever had. I didn't necessarily have a good practice, but I got a feeling like this area's got some fish. I'll just go out there, and I only spent an hour going through here in practice. What if I spent 6 hours in there? Just think of the potential of it. And that's how you find out. A lot of these tournaments, you don't really see exactly how good the fishery is. The dock talk is, I caught a few here and a few there. Well, then once they put their mind to it and start grinding it out, and you can actually see how many fish are in a little area like that. But that's just what I want to talk about a little bit, is making, good decisions. And if you have a gut feeling, an instinct that you should be doing that. Jason Christie won on Beaver Lake this year. And that's not, I don't know if you guys know where Beaver Lake is in Arkansas. But the last day I watched the show, and he said he had drove by there every day. And the place that he won, he said, I just had a feeling. I went over there and fished for, an hour and caught one, and then started, figuring it out as the day went. This is the 4th day of the tournament, fishing for $125,000. He just felt like going over there because that's what his instinct told him to do. So, just keep that in mind next time you're in a tournament or, trying to figure out if it's not going right. Don't, you got all day, and it only takes 5 casts to get, 5, so that doesn't take very long. But I just wonder if you guys had any questions about tournaments you guys are in, or anything you guys. Come on, I know you.
The pattern for when you're scouting for a tournament going out. You looking for a certain spot, catch a couple easily?
Sometimes it's like that. Like when you're scouting, a big thing of me is keeping an open mind, and that's the same thing like instinct fishing. I've usually got 10 or 15 rods on the deck, and that's, some people don't understand why you have to have, most wives don't understand why you have to have 10 or 15 on the deck. And they all have different actions, and they all have, but the biggest thing is so I don't have to sit down and retie. If I got a worm on this one, and I got a jig on this one, and I got a top water and a spinnerbait, and I don't want to sit down, oh, there's my spinnerbait. You throw it up there. But I'll keep an open mind, and when I start scouting around, the river has a lot of wood and a lot of pads, and there's current and there's backwater. It's a real cool fishery, actually, except for having to jump a bunch of stumps to get everywhere. But other than that, it's pretty cool. But no, I keep an open mind, and if you find a little area where you get a couple bites, you'd usually leave, you'll mark it, or maybe if it's a pad field or something, maybe I'll start looking for that, and you could try to look for a pattern where, man, those pads are like in 4 feet. Most of them are in 2. And then you scout around a little bit, and then you find some more pads that are in 4 and you start catching them. Well, all right, I figured it out. So then you kind of get a few areas like that, but you don't. As far as when I first start fishing in a new lake or whatever, I just look for a few bites and then try to build on it when the tournament starts. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but.
Any particular baits that you have confidence in to use for certain baits through it throughout the spring or fall time of year?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the time of year, but my confident bait is a jig. And the thing about what we do is we fish anywhere from, Okeechobee, which is a natural shallow lake with a lot of grass, and then we go to Beaver Lake, which is clear and deep, and, so it's so vast. But I don't really have a favorite. Like, whatever the conditions are, I don't even save my waypoints. At the end of the year, I delete them all because I don't want to go. One of the worst things about tournament fishermen is they fish memories. It's like, oh, remember, 2 years ago when we caught them over here? I better go try it. Well, it always changes. I mean, it's never the same. Even day to day, it changes. So, I use waypoints during the week, but after that's over, I'll get rid of them, and I try not to dwell on the past. You know what I mean? So, my favorite lake is Lake Okeechobee in Florida. There's a couple different reasons. One is because I'm from Minneapolis, and when we go there, it's in January every year, and our water's really hard. And down there, I'm dressed like this, and it's like, God, I can't believe my wife talked me into living up here. But you go down there, and it's nice. And the second reason is any flip, you can catch a 7 or 8 pounder, and it happens a lot. 10 pounders are hard. Everyone thinks you go to Okeechobee and catch a 10 pounder. I've caught a 9.5 in 2007. My third flip of the tournament, I caught a 9.5, and that was my biggest one. And it wasn't big bass of the day. It was the third biggest. So it's a pretty fun place. I have never fished Lake Fork. Nope. That's all right.
What's one of the hardest things about being on the trail? Is it trying to win tournaments? Is it, the sponsor end of it? Is it the family? What's the hardest thing?
Yep, all those. No, traveling, that's, people don't realize how much we are on the road. I travel about anywhere from 40 to 50,000 miles a year, and it doesn't sound like much, but it's over the course of 7 months. So it's not like 12 months I travel that much. It's 7 or 8 months is how much I travel. That and being able to forget if you have a bad tournament, just being able to block that out and not let it get to you, because it can happen fast. I was on a really hot streak this spring. We've had 3 fall tournaments, and I made the cut in 2 out of those 3 and almost made another one. First cut at Okeechobee, and then I lost a fish at Smith Lake this year. It would put me in the cut. That would have been like 5 in a row. And it was going good, and then all of a sudden I have a bad tournament, and then had a mediocre, and then 2 bad ones after that. And it's like, it's just like that. You're rolling, you're doing good, and all of a sudden you hit 2 or 3 bad ones, and it's like you start thinking like, how hard it really is when you're catching them. It seems like everything's easy, but then getting over those little rough spots, and George Cochran told me a couple years ago I had a little, stretch where I had a couple bad tournaments and I was mad, and he'd just come up, and Arkansas is close enough. You guys know who George Cochran is, right? He said, and he retired last year, and he was a good buddy of mine, and he beat me on his home lake at the Forest Wood Cup in 2005. I finished second, and he beat me on his home lake. And it made me mad, because I was a lot younger then, but he was like my enemy for a while. And then once, I'm good buddies with Nixon and their cousins, and I got to know George as a person, not just as that guy that beat me for the Forest Wood Cup. And we became friends, and he said that fishing's just like this. And he said, you just got to enjoy the ones up here, and don't worry about the ones down here. Just get over it. And that's helped me, as far as the mental part of the game. And that's part of what I was talking about today, is the mental part. And that's, all these guys can catch them. They can all, they're all good at what they do. But it's the mental, the decisions, and the staying focused and staying confident, and being able to, if you're casting along and I wonder how so-and-so, I just missed one. You got to be focused, and you got to be, and it's a lot of hard work doing it for 8 or 9 hours, and every cast you make, it's like, I don't even talk. We have a co-angler in the back, and the only thing I say is, we're getting ready to leave. And I'm not trying to be rude, and I tell them that when I start. It takes so much concentration, because if you miss that one where you go and you start thinking about something, that was your 4-pounder. I don't know if it was, but that was the one that makes the difference of holding 2 great big ones up instead of just one, and then you're in the middle of the pack. So, yeah. Well, you always start out and you're always intense, but then it's like 9 o'clock rolls around and it's kind of slow, and it's like, hey, and they start talking, and then next thing you know, you miss one, and then you know what I'm talking about. It's not that I don't have a good time doing it, and I think the co-anglers have a good time, but they respect it. That I tell them up front, I just don't talk, because I'm trying to pay my bills, and I've got 8 hours to do this, and that's it. You're done. So, we'll talk at the weigh-in afterwards if you want to talk. Well, I heard that Ray Scheid is in 3rd or 4th, and I heard that he lost a 5 or 6 pounder, and then a 4-pounder and a 3-pounder in like 10 or 15 minutes yesterday. And I don't know. I've never lost any that. Obviously, I've lost fish, but that you're fishing for 500,000, and that he would probably be leading right now if that didn't happen. But I don't know how he handles it. There's nothing you can do about it. And that's like, in anything. The guy will back into your boat trailer. He busted my boat trailer. It's already busted. There's nothing you can do about it. If you lose a fish, if he breaks off, don't let it happen again. Try not to just try to stay mentally, don't get down and just stay positive, and, it's fishing. I don't know anyone that's caught everyone that bit. Well, you have, haven't you? No. So just stay positive and just stay focused. And obviously, when you miss them, you're doing something right to get the bite. And a lot of times, if you miss 2 or 3 in a row, you might want to change colors, or he's throwing a frog, so if you lose him on a frog a lot. But if you keep losing them, if you're throwing a white one, maybe throw a black one, or maybe throw a yellow one, or switch colors, because sometimes they will. It's just and you can pattern them. If they're really gagging it, you're like, that's the right one. Oh, yeah. Happens on a jig a lot. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I wish I knew, because I'd sell whatever it was that makes them bite and hold on. It's just the way they have it in their mouth, and a lot of times it's the way they're swimming. A lot of times when they're swimming away from you and you set them, it'll just turn them and they'll just roll out. Yeah, this sport is very aggravating. I don't know why anybody does it. I started in 2002 at Beaver Lake. So I fished 11 full years. That's how many I've fished. And that's where I met my wife, is Beaver Lake. I'm from Michigan, she's from Minneapolis, and I met her in Arkansas. Nope. I take that back. I fished a BASS event in 92, and I was a young punk or whatever, but I beat the first guy that I fished with, and I beat the second guy I fished with, and the third day, neither one of us caught any. It was on the Mississippi River, and I did it. I fished with Van Dam. We were pretty close. We lived about 30 miles apart. So I pre-fished with him, and that was better than even fishing the tournament. And when I got in the boat with those guys, it's like I felt like I was a better fisherman than them, and they were in the front of the boat. So I'm like, I'm never going to do it. When I get the chance, I'll just go to the front. But that was just, I'm not trying to be arrogant or anything, but that's what I felt when I was in the boat with them. And I had a couple older guys. One guy won the Classic in 73 or something like that, and he was getting up there in age, and but he was still doing it, and so is Nixon, and Nixon's a competitor. But I just felt if I can beat him in the back of the boat, surely if I can run my own boat, I can compete at least, and that maybe not beat everyone, but at least make a living at it. And that's what it's all about. It's about consistency and just being consistent and getting checks every tournament, and staying positive and talking to you guys.
Does your sponsor pay your entry fee and stuff?
Oh, they help out. A lot of sponsors help out. I mean, they're all different. So without them, I couldn't do it. I mean, not this day and age. When I first started, it was $1,200 for an entry fee, and they paid, about the same as what they're paying now. Now they're $4,000, and gas was $1.50 a gallon, and now it's $4.50 a gallon. So my gas expense is like $14,000 a year. So it's not all. It's hard work, and it's just like anything. But if you love it, and that's what I'm saying, to work your way up, it's possible. I could be fishing against any one of you guys in the next couple of years. That's what's cool about the sport. But you got to work your way up to get there. That's always the $1 million question. Well, you have to. No, it's not. Well, you have to do good. My first 3 FLW events, I got fired, and then I finally got in an FLW event, and I didn't make the first cut at Beaver Lake. I missed it by 3 spots, and then the next 2 tournaments I made the cut, and I actually made more money in those 3 tournaments than I would have working all year for the guy I was working for. But I was this no-name guy that came out, and all of a sudden I started making cuts and got noticed, and you have to be comfortable and be able to talk to people, and it's just. Take advantage if someone, comes up and talks to you. You never know who that guy might be if he come up and talk to you, and then he turns and walks away, and, I brushed him off or whatever. Well, that was the president of so-and-so company. You don't know who he is. And just, treat everyone like you'd want to be treated.
How does the IRS treat you?
The IRS? Oh, that my accountant takes care of all that. I don't really know. I just got to write him a check at the end of the year.
You like a jig test in deep water?
How deep?
20, 25 feet.
Yeah, I do. I throw a big football head. But anything under 20, if I can crank it and hit the bottom, I'll do that. That's what's fun about deep water fishing. When you find them, it can happen fast. I like you said, when I came up last year or 2 years ago, I won Kentucky Lake, and I won it off one spot, and I won it in 15 minutes. The last day, I had almost 24, and there's my buoy, there's one, and it was every cast for about 15 or 20 minutes, and it was done. That was it. And I lost the biggest one. The first one was the biggest one. I lost it. But I could hit the bottom. It was about 12 or 15 feet, and I could hit with a 6XD. But if it was a little deeper than that, I'd throw a jig, or a big worm works pretty good. I don't know if you ever throw a 10 or 12-inch worm, straight tail worm. It's almost like a shaky head, but you throw it on a little bigger weight. But you can rig it like a shaky head. But I've got a guy that makes like a football head, and it looks, like the small shaky head, but it's a big one. And you just rig it the same way, and you throw it out. I like that one too.
What competition you throwing at 6XD? Seems like the lighter line. You just
10. Yep. You can get it down, and I throw 6 a lot for smallmouth and stuff, and as long as you're careful with them and, there's not standing timber or anything, you can get away with 10. And that's what I throw my worm and jig on, and it's just because of current, because I'm talking is like the Tennessee River or anywhere, even out here, I don't know how deep you can catch them out here if it's, it's kind of muddy, but the current will, if you throw it out and, you're fishing it with the current, and you let it sit, and then you pick up, you can see the bow in your line. So if you get a bite, you set the hook, you got to keep going, because that current if it's a heavy diameter line, it'll push you grab the line easier. If it's a real thin diameter, it kind of cuts through it a little better, so you can keep solid contact with your bait. That way, and you feel the bite a lot better too. So when you're dragging it along, it's not this where it's under your boat, and then you got and then you feel a bite, and you go back and set, and there's nothing there because you haven't hit him yet. So the hookups are better, and the sensitivity of feeling the bait's better with 10. Yep. I throw 100% fluorocarbon Berkeley trialing. Yeah. Polymer knots, what I throw most of the time. Yeah. Yep. It's pretty good. It seems to work. What's that? Yeah, a little bit. I haven't thrown it enough to. I got beat on it at Rayburn last year. That guy that when it came out, I I finished fifth, but the guy that I was right there with fourth, third, and second, but the guy that won it was on a 10XD, and I think he had 31 the last day for 5. I had 15. He doubled. They had to bring him with 2 bags. They didn't fit in one. That's when you know you got a good day going. Anything else? It's got to be one more. My buddies? I just go small a lot of times, like shaky head and stuff. Everyone laughs about a shaky head. Man, you can, when it's tough and they're bringing in 3 and 4 fish, you just pick up an 8-pound line with an 1/8 ounce shaky head worm. I don't know what it is, but it's something real subtle, and they'll bite it. They don't care how you caught them. No one asks you, Oh, he's got 5, but, they don't ask you if you caught him in 10 minutes or 8 hours. If you caught your last one, your last cast, no one knows. So I just go small, little light line.
Knowing what you know right now, what would you have done differently throughout the sport or throughout your career?
Oh, there's a lot of things. But nothing career-wise, just decisions. Even this year at Okeechobee, I made the cut, and the last day, I think it was an 8th or 9th or something. And Brent Ayler and I were fishing kind of the same area. And it kept getting, the first day I didn't catch him. The second day I really caught him. I had like 26 pounds or something. The third day, no one really in there caught him real good, but enough to make it to the next round, And I left there and I went farther up north. And I had a little spot down south, and I thought about going there, and I didn't. And it's just one of those things where the night before I'm like, that's where I'm going to go. And when I got up in the morning, I'm like, nah, I don't know why I was thinking that. And then the wind blew really hard out of the south. It would have been protected. It would have been nice to fish down there. And just little stuff like that where you look back. And I don't know if I was in 9th. I don't know if I could have won, but I'll never know. And that's what I started talking about, your decision making. And if you feel something, just do it. Otherwise, like the whole ride home, that's all I thought about. What if? What if I would have went down there? I mean, it's one of those things where I felt like I should do it, and then for whatever reason, you can't turn around and go back because the lake's big and it was rough. I mean, it's 40 miles to the top end of Lake Okeechobee, and I just fished up there, and then 10 o'clock rolls around. You can't turn around and run through all these waves and then go all the way back around south and do it. It's too late then. So if you ever have an instinctual feeling that you should go do something, go do it. And that's the only regrets I have or anything that I'd do different. I mean, other than that, I've had, pretty good success with the businesses that I work with, and, it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully I get to do it as long as Nixon. What was it, 100 years now? Yeah, oh, is he? You're not 100, are you? 99, yeah.
The schedule's out for next year. Is there any lakes on there that you wish they'd have kept off?
No, I don't. I like, we're going to Hartwell, and I've always done really well there in practice. And I've never caught them in the tournament. I don't know why. That's one of those lakes where you're like, man, this lake's pretty cool. Yeah, I should, yeah. I fished at Lake Champlain 3 weeks ago, and I got 1 day of practice and finished 3rd. And I'm like, maybe I should do this 1 day of practice from, a little more. But it's more of an instinct thing. And that was what I was talking about, where I just felt like I fished new areas almost every day during the tournament. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go over there and catch them.
Okeechobee's going to be first on that.
Yep, Okeechobee's always first. As far I didn't really look at it too much. My wife told me the schedule came out, and I'd kind of known where we're going, but I haven't looked at the dates. Yep, Rayburn should be good, but I like Kentucky. That's pretty. Got some good memories there. So yeah, I don't know. Should be pretty good. I hope so. A lot, because you're usually pretty tired at the end of the day. I used to get kind of nervous or whatever about tournament, even the cup, but when you fish that long and that sitting out in the sun, you get tired, You just go to bed. It's like, I got to get up and do it again tomorrow. So I'm sure, like my rookie year, my second year, I was a little different than I am now, but I got more stuff to worry about than I got 2 little girls at home that I got to take care of. That makes me worry more than going out catching a bass.
Co-wave number 1 this year, he did pretty good. He got 14 pounds the first day. 14, 15 the second day.
I didn't see. Did he? That's pretty good for the Red River, isn't it?
He said that people didn't have him. He didn't have the money or nothing to make it. He come up with this plain old white T-shirt on.
Good for him.
They said, well, maybe you'll get some sponsors.
Yeah, yeah,
That's good to see somebody like that win.
yeah. Any other questions? You got one more. No? All right, guys. Well, I got to go back down to my booth. I got some stuff down there, some koozies and stuff. If you guys want to get some more free stuff, fill up in bags. You guys got enough stuff here. The other guys.
This is my grandson.
Yeah, that's what everyone always says.